The NFL season is finally here, so make sure you're ready with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV. It gives you the most live NFL games all in one place, exactly what you need to make your Sundays more magical. Sign up today at youtube.com/Sunday Ticket. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams. All at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale, going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
What an opening week it was in the NFL. We had a rookie quarterback winning his very first game as a pro with the Chicago Bears. Dak Prescott became the highest paid player in NFL history. Brock Purdy outlasted Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football. And the Kansas City Chiefs, well, the Chiefs did what the Chiefs do, and they just keep on winning. Speaking of which, it was a winning start to the season for the show as well. A 3-2 record in week 1 against the line. It got the juices flowing. We're keen with anticipation, so what are we waiting for? Let's turn the page and look ahead to week 2 in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I am your host, Richard Graves, just about recovered after all the excitement we witnessed in the opening week of the new NFL season. The question, though, as we head into week 2, is which of those teams that won in week 1 are the real deal, and which teams are flattering to deceive? As we look ahead to the second week of action in the new National Football League season, we're looking at 3 matchups which feature 6 teams who are all looking to record their first win of the season. If this is your first time listening to the Graves on Gridiron podcast, it's great to have you along. It's quite simple. Every week, we look at 3 matchups from the slate of games on offer. We look at the line set by the odds makers, and then I will dissect those matchups and give you an indication of which way I think you should go against that line. We've been quite successful over the past 2 years, and we're off to a winning start in season 3 of the Graves on Gridiron podcast. 3-2 against the line. Just a reminder, we had the Chiefs overcoming the Ravens in the kickoff game last Thursday night. They covered the -3 spread for that. The Packers, though, weren't able to cover the spread against the Philadelphia Eagles. And worse than that for Green Bay, of course, they are now without their starting quarterback, Jordan Love, for maybe up to 6 weeks, as he had a scare in the closing seconds of that defeat to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think it's safe to say with some relief, it's been revealed that he suffered nothing more than an MCL sprain in his knee. That is likely to keep him out for between 3 and 6 weeks. We are told. So it looks like Malik Willis, who they only signed just before the start of the season, trading for him from the Tennessee Titans, will get the start this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Then on Sunday, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys went into Cleveland as underdogs. They won the game, covered the spread. That was good for us on the show. Not so good if you're Charles Dagnall, but we'll speak about that later as well, as he went with the Cleveland Browns. Elsewhere, Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won handily against the Washington Commanders. And then we finished on Monday Night Football. We both took the New York Jets to cause the upset in San Francisco. That didn't happen. The 49ers ran out winners. So a 3-2 winning record for the Graves on Gridiron podcast at the end of week 1. What will happen in week 2? Well, let's not wait any longer. Let's find out. Let's start with the 3 games I've selected from this week's slate. And it starts in Green Bay with those Green Bay Packers hosting the Indianapolis Colts at Lambeau Field. It's no surprise that the Colts go in there as 3-point favourites because, let's be honest, the Packers have lost their starting quarterback, the man who they've just signed to a big money deal, Jordan Love. Malik Willis comes in now. He's the likely starter, we're told, by head coach Matt LaFleur going into this weekend. And when you look at his record since entering the NFL in 2022, it's not great. He's only started 3 games with the Tennessee Titans. He's got a 1-2 record as a starter. He's never thrown a touchdown pass in his NFL career. He has a 144 rushing yards to his name. He has a rushing touchdown to his name. It is likely, therefore, I think, that the Green Bay Packers will lean on Josh Jacobs and a good, strong defense to keep this game in hand and give them some opportunity. But let's just go through those 3 games I mentioned that Malik Willis has had as a starter during his time as a Tennessee Titan. It hasn't been particularly pretty, you have to say, when you look at his career. 2 of those games coming against the Houston Texans. Of course, that would be an AFC South rivalry matchup between the Titans and the Texans. He's 1-1 in those 2 matchups. His first start of his NFL career came in Week 7 in 2022. Listen to this for a stat line. He was 6 of 10 passing for 55 yards, threw no touchdowns, 1 interception. The Tennessee Titans in that game ran the ball on 45 of their 55 snaps. That's over 80% of the snaps they ran the ball, and yet somehow they managed to get the win over a Houston team, which admittedly turned out to have the worst record in the entire National Football League back in 2022. He did have Derrick Henry, of course, as his running back to lean on that occasion. He went for over 200 yards in the game and had 2 touchdowns as well, which gives you a strong indication of the way that game panned out. Week 8 of that 2022 season, the Titans took on the Kansas City Chiefs. They took that game to overtime, but ran out 20 points to 17 losers. Again, the stats for Malik Willis, not particularly awe-inspiring. 5 of 16 passes completed for a total of 8 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And again, heavily relied on running the ball. 29 of their 45 plays were running the ball with Derrick Henry. And then the final game of that 3-game stretch for Malik Willis, Week 15, 2022, the Houston Texans 19, the Tennessee Titans 14 was the final score. Willis, 14 of 23 for 99 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So, as you can see, in those 3 starts, admittedly as a rookie, the offense was strongly designed to protect him. But in 3 games as a starter, he's yet to throw for 100 yards in a game. He's had no touchdown passes. He's had a handful of interceptions. Sure, he's now in the 3rd year of his professional career. No doubt he's learned a lot. He's come on a lot. But he's going to have to look to Josh Jacobs and that run game in Green Bay going into this one. And the question then becomes, how good is the defense there in Green Bay? Can they keep the Indianapolis Colts in check? Because the one thing I saw last week in the Colts' defeat at home to the Houston Texans was that their quarterback, Anthony Richardson, has a live arm. There was one play, I don't know if you saw it, when he was down on his knees and yet managed to get up and he flung this ball fully 60 yards in the air to find his wide receiver for a touchdown. It was as an impressive a play as you will see in the NFL all season. The Colts, of course, have a good running game, strong runner, Jonathan Taylor. Remember, last week, albeit in Brazil, the Green Bay Packers could not stop Saquon Barkley. He had a day, 3 total touchdowns, 109 rushing yards on the ground. Yes, the Colts lost 29-27 to the Houston Texans, but that was a close game and points were put on the board. I just look at this Green Bay Packers team coming into this game and wonder where their points are going to come from, because I feel they'll have to score points. I don't think they'll be able to shut down the Indianapolis Colts. So I look at that line offered. The Colts 3-point favorites. I know it's in Green Bay, but if you're going to go to Wisconsin and play football outdoors, this is the time of year you want to be doing it, not in November when it's frigid and people are sticking to those metal bleacher seats they have in Wisconsin, especially if they're not wearing the right clothing. Look, I'm all on board with the Indianapolis Colts going into this game. I think the Packers are hoping that Jordan Love will be closer to 3 weeks in his recovery rather than the 6 weeks that it takes on average to recover from an MCL sprain. And they're hoping somehow maybe they can dig out the odd win just to keep them alive and looking to make it into the playoffs at the end of the season. I don't think that happens this weekend. Give me the Indianapolis Colts at -3.
Graves on Gridiron.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
The second game of 3 from our Week 2 slate of matchups takes us to Tennessee, where the Titans will host the New York Jets. Again, both these teams were on the losing end of results in their opening games. The Jets, of course, losing on Monday Night Football in San Francisco. It gives them a short week to turn around and face the Tennessee Titans in this one. The Titans themselves were up on the road by double digits against the Chicago Bears, with their rookie number 1 pick quarterback, Caleb Williams, who looks like a rookie for much of the game last week. And they somehow managed to blow a double-digit lead in that game on the road. Now, it must be pointed out, you look at the way the Chicago Bears scored their points, there was more than an element of luck about it. There was a punt blocked, of course, that went back for a touchdown. Will Levis, if you haven't seen this play late in the game, he's almost on his knees. He's trying to avoid being sacked and just flings the ball up in the air. And the moment he releases the ball, you see him put his hands to his helmet. He knows he's done something that you should never do in the NFL. It was a gift of an interception, and this Chicago Bears defense doesn't need any second invitations. They took it back to the house. Chicago, Soldier Field, was rocking at that point. And the Tennessee Titans were never able to get their noses in front again. The game sealed with another Will Levis interception right at the end of the fourth quarter. But I look at this matchup, and immediately what screamed off the page to me was total points for this game. 40.5 is the line that's been set. You're telling me we're going to see less than 40.5 points between the Jets and Titans offenses, which are both capable of putting points on the board? I'm just not buying that. Will Levis, say what you like about him, and yes, he did make some errors in that defeat up in Chicago last weekend, but he has a cannon for an arm as well and can fit balls in where other QBs just wouldn't even contemplate that idea. He's got a running back in Tony Pollard. Remember, he was signed in free agency from the Dallas Cowboys. He started the game in Chicago really well last week, ripped off 58 rushing yards in the first quarter, had a touchdown, went a bit quiet as the game went on. But again, if you can get him in open field, he is going to cause opposing defenses issues. And I do feel that with Will Levis, there's an element of the old gunslinger about him. When he gets hot, he can be really hot. And I know he's going against a really good New York Jets defense, a defensive front that's going to cause many a team issues this year, but that gunslinger mentality is going to make some plays as well. And then you look on the opposite side of the field, this New York Jets team, after all the hooper about Aaron Rodgers coming back from that Achilles tendon injury. It didn't go his or the way of the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. But it did give him an opportunity to knock off some rust that accrues when you haven't been playing competitive football for 12 months. You saw in Breece Hall at running back. For me, he is a top 3 running back in the NFL this season. He had 16 rush attempts. He had 5 catches to go with that as well. Over 100 total yards for Breece Hall last weekend and a touchdown scored. And if you listen to last week's podcast with myself and Charles Dagnall, we spoke about this New York Jets defense, a secondary which includes Sauce Gardner, a front 7, if you like, which knows how to get after quarterbacks and get after the ball. This is a unit which is just waiting to make plays happen. And if what we saw last weekend is anything to go by, Will Levis is going to give them opportunities. And I just look at this game and think, well, Will Levis and the Titans will find the end zone at some point in this game. And I just cannot see Aaron Rodgers being quite as rusty as he was against what is one of the best all-around teams in the NFL this season in the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think this Titans team is anywhere near as good as the 49ers. I think the Jets will have more success. I just see this being an entertaining game. If you want to put my head to the fire, I'd say that I think the New York Jets probably get off the mark and get their first win of the season, but I also see points. So I'm looking at the over here, over 40.5 points for this game between the Jets and the Titans. Okay, 2 games in the bag, 1 game still to go. Don't go away. We'll give you that game in a moment after these short messages.
Graves on Gridiron.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, welcome back to week 2 of the new season of Graves on Gridiron. We've already looked at the Indianapolis Colts going to the Green Bay Packers, taking the Colts as 3-point favorites in that. Then we looked at the Tennessee Titans hosting the New York Jets, a game I expect to be entertaining. Take the over on total points in that game, over 40.5 points. Where are we going to finish this week's podcast? We're going to finish it in the desert, the home of the Arizona Cardinals, as they host the Los Angeles Rams. It's an NFC West rivalry. The Cardinals start the game as 1.5-point favorites, which you might think's interesting given these two sides both come off week 1 losses, and the Rams are many people's picks as dark horses to go a long way into the postseason this time around. Of course, the Rams went to overtime on Sunday Night Football, another thriller in Detroit. They never got to see the ball in overtime. Detroit got the ball. Detroit scored a touchdown. Detroit won that game. Not too far away from Detroit, the Cardinals were playing the Buffalo Bills on the road. The Cardinals were up double digits early in this game, and yet it became the Josh Allen show as the Buffalo Bills roared back and got their season off the mark. The bad news for the LA Rams, not just enough that they went on to lose in overtime to the Detroit Lions. They lost Puka Nacua, their second-year wide receiver, as well. He left the game early in week 1. That meant that Matthew Stafford and this Rams offense went largely through the veteran receiver, Cooper Kupp. He finished with 14 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown in that game. And the impressive thing about it was, even though the Lions defense knew that Stafford was looking for Cooper Kupp, they couldn't stop Stafford finding Cooper Kupp. Remember, he missed a lot of last season through injury. He looks to be back to his very best. That Super Bowl winning form that we saw when he was named the Super Bowl MVP several years back. On the downside for the LA Rams, it was another wide receiver on the field that caused problems for their defense. Jameson Williams, he's got elite level speed, and he showed it off as he was able to get behind the Rams defense for a touchdown. That's something that might be significant coming into this game when you think of a certain rookie by the name of Marvin Harrison. Of course, it was a disappointing debut for Marvin Harrison as an NFL pro last week. He wasn't really on the score sheet at all, statistics sheet, should I say. After all the preseason hype, the draft hype about him being the best wide receiver coming out of this year's draft, this wasn't the opening outing that he or the Cardinals were looking for. On the positive side for Arizona, it has to be said, quarterback Kyler Murray looked good. He had a live arm. He was mobile. Helped this Cardinals offense put 28 points on the board on the road in Buffalo against a Bills defense, which isn't to be sniffed at, people. This is a Bills team that still has designs on going all the way to the Super Bowl. So if you can go into Buffalo and put 28 points on the board, you're doing something right. James Conner, again, their veteran running back, shows that he's got a nose for the end zone. But the fact that it was Kyler Murray that led the Cardinals offense in rushing yards, 5 carries, 57 yards, is a little bit of a concern. They've got a rookie running back in, Trey Benson, only had a handful of carries himself in that game. James Conner, the goal line back in this instance, did get on the score sheet, but didn't put up statistics between the end zones, if you like, that would impress you or make you raise an eyebrow. Josh Allen, it has to be said, for the Buffalo Bills in that game, was nothing short of sensation. You talk about looking for a franchise quarterback that puts a team on his back and wills them to victory. What we saw from Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills last week was exactly that kind of quarterback. 2 rushing touchdowns for him in the game. We know about his arm. The good news for the Arizona Cardinals is you are not going to see Matthew Stafford running around, hurdling tacklers, sidestepping them, and finding his way to the end zone in that sense. It should be, I won't say an easier outing for the Arizona Cardinals, because that's far too disrespectful to the Rams and Matthew Stafford. But in a sense, you don't have to worry so much about the dual threat of a mobile quarterback. That is a plus for this Cardinals defense. And then, like we say, what about Marvin Harrison? We've seen the hype. We've heard the hype. Is this his breakout game? Jameson Williams was able to find space, expose holes in the secondary, get behind that secondary, go deep and find the end zone. Is this the game when Marvin Harrison dons the Cardinals jersey for the first time on home soil as an NFL player, that he has his coming out party? I think there's a chance that might happen. The Cardinals are 1.5-point favorites at home to the LA Rams. I think it's a problem for the Rams that they don't have Puka Nacua this weekend. Cooper Kupp is good. Can he carry this offense on his own? Can Stafford find somebody else to take the weight, the burden of that offense off the shoulders of Cooper Kupp? It's a big ask, and it's not one I'm sure we're going to see answered this weekend for the LA Rams. Remember, of course, in years gone by, when they had their Super Bowl winning year, you could rely on this Rams defense anchored by Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is no longer in the NFL. He's retired. This is still a bit of a learning curve for the Rams as they find what their true identity is in this new season. I don't think they find it this weekend. Give me the Arizona Cardinals to cover and win this, and covering at 1.5-point favorites as well. Okay, so just to recap our 3 games then. We started in Green Bay. Take the Indianapolis Colts, who go in there as 3-point favorites, not only to win, but cover that 3-point spread. Then on to the Tennessee Titans, who host the New York Jets. I expect this to be an entertaining game, and I expect to see points. Take the over 40.5 points in this game, before rounding it off in the desert, the Arizona Cardinals hosting the LA Rams, an NFC West affair. One of these teams has to chalk up their first win of the season. I expect it to be the Cardinals, and I expect them to do it by covering the 1.5-point favourite spread as well. Take the Cardinals at -1.5. Remember, as I always say at this time, folks, it's about having fun and enjoyment first and foremost. If you want to read a bit more about the 3 matchups we've spoken about this week, then you can go to my website, www.rdgmedia.uk. Click on that Talking Sport tab, and there you'll see NFL Week 2 overcoming the odds, 3 games to watch. Equally, hit me up on the socials. Graves on Gridiron on Facebook. On Instagram, it's RDG Media. UK, and equally on X at Richard Graves 1. Always love hearing your thoughts. We got off to a winning start in week 1. We have a 3-2 record in the books already. Let's see if we can improve on that in week 2. And whatever you do, enjoy your football, and let's do it all again next week, folks. But for now, so long, everybody.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts, and keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1. That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.